So an important part of the healing process is breaking apart scar tissue and adhesions that may have developed. And those can develop when there's any sort of trauma to the body. So whether it's a blunt force, whether there's an incision, whether there's been a puncture to the skin or to the tissue, and something as simple as a tattoo, which I'm going to use my arm as an example with, creates scar tissue. So what you want to do to help break up the scar tissue is to take your finger and just slide along where the scar may be. And so from here, I can see that my finger slides pretty easily as I go from the E to the L. And I can feel that in the middle. I can feel it above and below the word as well. And not only do I want to go left to right, but I also want to see what direction as I go up and down. So as I go from the top to the bottom of the word, my fingers slide pretty easily. But from here, if I were to go from the bottom up, I can see that it's much more difficult for my finger to slide. Also, if I were to go at an angle, it's easier to go from the top to the bottom as opposed to if I were to go bottom up. So the idea of breaking up scar tissue and adhesions, it's going to help create more blood flow to the area of the body where there's been trauma. So what you want to do is move in the direction where it's more difficult. So for me here on this tattoo, I want to go from the L to the E, applying a little bit of pressure as I slide my finger across the tattoo. In your case, it could be the scar, it could be right above the scar. So the scar tissue doesn't only develop where the scar itself is, but also around that area. So it's just the tissue and the skin all around where the trauma was. If you're having a difficult time finding which direction, sometimes by applying a little bit of lotion over that area of the body, making sure it's rubbed in nice and even. So again, if I go from the E to the L, my thumb slides along pretty easily. If I were to take a moment, pause, and go the opposite direction, it's much more difficult. And I can also feel all those little tiny adhesions. So the more I do this, the better the breaking up of the scar tissue will be. And again, I want to make sure that I go all directions, so it's going the direction where it tends to be more difficult. And you can actually see how difficult it is for me to slide the finger up. You want to do this a couple times a day because the more you can break up the scar tissue, the faster the healing process will be. So go all directions, apply just a little bit of pressure, and then eventually that will start to heal itself.